Hello guys, Dark Witcher here, and today I'm gonna bring to you a tutorial on how to properly install Linux alongside Windows. First off, this is a beginner's tutorial. If you're an advanced user, you can skip this video. Please don't hate on my method. Second, first I'm gonna start with presenting you with several distributions. The first OS that I will recommend to you is Zahra OS. It's a Ubuntu based distribution that means Debian based distribution that is extremely similar to Windows. You can see you have a start menu like Windows, and the taskbar and the system tray are also similar to Windows. Now, what I like about distribution is because of the user interface, it's extremely easy for someone who's never worked on Linux before to get used to it. It comes with 3 pre-installed works: Windows XP, Windows 7 and macOS, and each work has 3 color schemes: white, blue and black. I think that this is the blue, yeah, this is the blue color scheme of the Windows 7 work, and this is the black color scheme of the Windows 7 work. The second distribution that I'm gonna give you as a choice to install, I think is also great for beginners, is again an Ubuntu based distro. It's called Linux Mint. It comes in 4 flavors, sort of speaking, with 4 different user interfaces. Now, I've been using Linux Mint for the last 2 or 3 years. Before that, I've used Ubuntu, Montriva, and other distros. I have to say, it's my favorite distro thus far, and the Cinnamon edition, is my favorite user interface. It's extremely sleek, intuitive, modern, innovative, and extremely easy to customize. You also have the Mate edition, the KDE edition. If you've used an older version of Linux, or for example an older version of Ubuntu, you probably know the Mate edition and maybe the KDE edition. And it also has an XFCE edition with the XFCE desktop, which, from what I've read and researched about it, is the lightest of all 4 and fastest. But I haven't tried it myself. I really recommend Linux Mint for anyone. Right now you can download the 7.1 version, which has a 4 or 5 year support period. With other words, installing it now, you won't have to reinstall for the next 4 or 5 years. The third and last OS that I'm going to present to you is Linux Ubuntu. Probably the most popular Linux distro out there, certainly the most used one. I personally don't like it. I've used it until version 11 and 11.4 and 11.10, because that's when they implemented their new UI. New, it's not that new anymore. I think it was called Unity. I really hate that UI. Like, it's, in my opinion, ugly as hell, not that customizable. There are a lot of things that bug the hell out of me when it comes to it. Now, you can choose any other Linux distro that you would like to have or try. The method that I'm presenting now will work with any Linux distribution, with any Linux installation. So I'm gonna leave links to download any of these distros in the description of the video. Now, the next thing you need is something to create a bootable flash drive with. I strongly recommend using Rufus. It's a great program, incredibly light, works incredibly well. I'm gonna leave a download link in the description also. Just download and run. It has no installation whatsoever. I've already done that, and I have already put a flash drive in my PC. When it comes to the flash drive, how big of a flash drive you're gonna need? Most Linux distros need around a 4 gig flash drive. There are some that are extremely small and will fit on a 2 gigabyte flash drive. I use a 16 gigabyte because I have nothing smaller right now. As you can see, here is the option in Rufus from where you pick the device, the flash drive from which you're gonna create the Linux installation. I haven't changed any of the other options. That's how they come. That's how the program comes with these options set, and so far it's worked for me, so I don't think that you need to change anything. Next up is create a bootable disk using. Here you click on this little image button in order to select the ISO file. In my case, I'm gonna do this presentation with Linux 17.1 Cinnamon 64-bit Mint. You mark it, you open it, and you hit the start button. Now when you hit the start button, it will ask you to agree to erase all the data on your USB flash drive. So if you have any important data, back it up in advance somewhere on your PC, because it will be deleted in order for the bootable flash drive to be created. When the progress bar here fills up, it will say that it's done, complete, I think was the right term. Wait, let me see. I don't see it right now. Before it said here, but apparently not anymore. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, so basically it will tell you that it's ready and you just close it up. Now the next thing that you are going to need to do is prepare some disk space. Now there is a way of installing Windows and Linux alongside each other without having separate partitions for the Linux, but I strongly not recommend that way. Why, you ask? Well, if one of the OSs breaks, basically you have to reinstall both of them. The way that I'm gonna show you gives you the opportunity that if, for example, your Windows installation breaks, you can still use your Linux installation, your Linux OS to create or repair the Windows partition, and the other way around. So first off, you go into Control Panel. From there you go to Administrative Tools. Once Administrative Tools opens, go to Computer Management. Now once Computer Management opens, this is how it works. You click on the Disk Management in the side menu. In Disk Management, you'll see basically all your hard drives. Now what you need to do in order to give some space for the Linux installation, you need to create two new volumes, two new partitions. Now the way to do that, if you don't have any free partitions or allocated space, is you mark your biggest partition and you click Shrink Volume. It will start acquiring volume for a variable shrink space. When it's done, you have to enter how much space you want. Now you need two partitions. One must be, in my opinion, at least 10 gigabytes big. That's where your system partition will be installed, and the other must be at least 20 for your home folder, where also all your apps will be installed. My laptop has two 500 gig hard drives. The second that I'm gonna show you how the shrinking works. Yeah. So the second one is where I keep all my files, and the first is separated on 4 partitions where my OSs are kept. So this is how it works. The shrinking option. Here you enter how much space you want to shrink. Remember that the space is in megabytes, so I ain't gonna do that because, as I said, I have already partitions for the Linux prepared. One is, I love giving the OSs 100 gigs of partition as a system partition. That way there are no worries about how much software will be installed. It will always have space. and the home partition is 300 gigs. I was left with a lot of space, so basically I have more space in my Linux than I do have in my Windows, but who cares. Once that is done, you just need to restart your computer, hit F12 or F11 or F8, 9, 10, depends on what kind of a computer you have. Different computer models have different ways to get the boot menu open. If you don't have a boot menu option, you probably have to hit F12 to go into the BIOS settings and from there choose to unlock the boot menu option. Once you see the boot menu option, you just go down using the arrow keys to your flash drive and hit enter, and I'm gonna continue after I've done that. So guys, as I said, let's continue with the installation. Now you can see that with Linux Mint 17 it automatically walked me into a live version of the OS. Basically all Ubuntu, all Linux distributions, almost all Linux distributions have a live version where you can test before installing. Now here you can see an install Linux Mint icon. Basically you click this. Every live version has something like that. There would be one or two icons on the desktop, default icons, and one of those icons will be the installation icon. So you double click it, you pick your language, these are the requirements for Linux Mint. Has at least 9.2 gigabyte available drive space, is plugged into a power source, is connected to the internet. From here you can click to connect to the internet if you're not connected. If you're using Wi-Fi, I'm currently connected on a wire internet. This is the start menu. I mean, it's beautiful and it's extremely customizable. The default browser in every Linux distro I've ever used was Firefox. I don't like that, but who cares. So after, if these are all checked, then you're good to go. You click continue. If they're not, you try see which isn't checked and try to fix the problem. Nope, don't unmount that partition. We do not want you unmounting that partition. If the installer unmounts the partition, I won't be able to capture the screen. So when you get to the installation type, you have these options: erase disk and install Linux Mint. You don't want to do that, or all your files will go away. You don't want to do encrypt the new Linux Mint installation security. What you want to do is do something else. You click here and you click continue. When you get to this part, when you have to choose the disks, you choose the smaller one, click on it, click on him, click change. Go to ext4 journaling file system, format partition, and choose to be mounted as root, just the dash. You click OK, the format will be done, everything will be done with this partition. Now you next have to prepare the home partition the same way. You click change, choose ext4 journaling file system, format, and you select home as the mounting point. You click OK. When that's done, you're almost good to go. Now here, device for bootloader installation. This is the place where the group will be installed. Most people leave it at default. Some people put it on the same place where the Windows 8 folder is, the 300, or Windows 7 100 or 350 megabyte system reserved hard drive. You don't want it there. If you leave it there, what will happen is if one of your OSs breaks, you will have to reinstall both of them. The correct place for the loader to be installed is the place where you've created the root mounting point. With other words, the smaller of the two Linux partition. In my case, this is the SDB3. You put it on that, you select that partition as the place for group to install, and you then click install next. I'm not gonna reinstall my Linux now, but basically that's how you do it. When it's done, it will give you a window a small window where it will ask you to either stay in the live version or to restart. Click the restart button and you're gonna go back to Windows, where we have to do one more final thing in order for the Windows bootloader to see the Linux grub loader, so you can actually go into your Linux. Now when you're back in Windows, there's one last thing you need to do. You need to add the Linux installation into the Windows bootloader, and there's a simple and great software that lets you do so. It's called Easy BCD. There will be a download link in the description. It's from Smart Technologies. When you come into the site, you go to see plans, and for the non-commercial free license, you just click register. It will ask you for a name and an email. You put a name and an email in there and click download. And voila, you're gonna download the program. When it's done downloading, install it like any other program. I've already done that, so I'm gonna skip that step. You open the program and you go to add a new entry. Now I'm gonna delete my Linux Mint entry. Wait. Delete. Yes, I'm sure. So you have only the Windows entry. It doesn't matter if it's Windows 7 or 8 or 10 or whatever. You go to add a new entry. You go to the Linux-BCD. You go to, the type is grub legacy. Now here the trio Linux distributions that I presented you in the beginning of this tutorial all use grub or grub legacy. If you've downloaded another distribution, you have to check, is it using grub or grub2? If it's using grub2, you have to choose grub2. You name the partition DOS, whatever name you want to give it. For me it's Mint 17.1 because that's the Linux distribution that I have. On drive, you click on the smaller of the two Linux partitions where you installed your grub. Click on there and hit add entry. You go to edit boot menu. You can see that you have you've added the Linux installation path, so you'll be able to run it from the Windows bootloader. You save the settings, you close, and now you can restart and go into the Linux and start experiencing all the joy of using open source software. That's all. I hope you've liked this tutorial and it was helpful. If you have any questions or you want me to do a specific tutorial on something that you don't know how to do but you want to learn how to do it, just leave the comment below. As always, if it was truly helpful, like and subscribe. See you next time and goodbye.